Imagine a country where the delivery drivers fueling the entire modern economy finally get the safety net they actually deserve. For years, the gig economy has kind of operated in this gray area. Massive, rapid growth, sure, but also massive vulnerability for the people doing the heavy lifting. Well, in this explainer, we're diving into a literal game changer in digital governance, the new Social Security scheme for online platform workers. We're going to look at how technology, policy, and finance are completely colliding to protect millions of people.
We'll be moving quickly through the core challenge, decoding how this new scheme actually works, breaking down the financial engine behind it, looking at the real-world impact on workers, and then wrapping up with the key takeaways you need to know.
Starting with Part 1, the Gig Economy Challenge. Let's establish the big picture of why this urgent reform had to happen in the first place.
Look, we all interact with delivery partners and drivers practically every single day, right? They are the invisible engines of our cities. But historically, these essential workers operated totally outside any formal social protection. If they got sick, had an accident, or just grew old, there was absolutely zero institutional safety net to catch them. It was a massive, glaring gap.
And that brings us to the incredible evolution we're witnessing right now. Before November 2025, you basically had a completely informal workforce, unprotected, with their identities tied purely to whatever corporate platform they were using that day. But the full enforcement of the Code on Social Security, that triggers a total transformation. Post-November 2025, we are looking at a formalized ecosystem. Workers get portability and, most importantly, statutory legal protection. We're talking about a monumental move from complete isolation to actual legal integration. To really grasp the scale of this, just think about the number 23.5 million. That is the projected size of the gig and platform workforce by the years 2029 to 2030. Leaving nearly 24 million people outside the Social Security net? That's an economic and social risk that literally no nation can afford to take.
Moving on to Part 2, decoding the new scheme. So how do you actually fix a systemic gap of that enormous size?
Well, it starts with the playing field. For the very first time under national law, this framework officially defines what a gig worker and a platform worker actually are. And why is that absolutely crucial? Because by defining these terms, the state builds a legal anchor. Think about it. You simply cannot protect what you don't legally recognize. This definition is the absolute prerequisite for establishing their legal right to welfare.
If you want a mental model for this entire scheme, think of it like this. The why is obvious, rapid gig growth colliding with the need for a formal safety net. The what is the 2025 enforcement of the Code on Social Security. The how involves mandatory funding from the platforms themselves tied into the national eShram database. And the final impact is transforming the whole gig economy from an informal hustle into a protected sector. Connecting those exact dots is the key to understanding the bigger picture here.
Let's jump to Part 3, how the financing works. Because at the end of the day, how do we actually pay for all of this? It's built as a very clean, traceable pipeline where corporate contributions directly fuel individual security. Step 1, the platforms or aggregators contribute directly into a central Social Security fund. Step 2, the worker registers on the eShram portal to get an Aadhaar-linked unique identification number. And Step 3, through that exact registration, the worker unlocks tangible, life-changing benefits like health coverage and insurance. It's an incredibly smart engine.
The real brilliance here is the sustainable financing balancing the whole thing out. Aggregators are legally mandated to contribute between 1 to 2% of their annual turnover. But to make sure the business ecosystem itself doesn't collapse, there's a statutory cap. That contribution absolutely cannot exceed 5% of the total amount they pay to their gig workers. And to round out the math, government and corporate social responsibility initiatives step in with supplemental funding. This specific mandate is literally the heart of the reform. By institutionalizing a sustainable financing model through a strict legal obligation on the aggregators, we are completely removing the unreliability of voluntary corporate charity. It's replaced by a legally binding financial backbone. The state has engineered a system where the platforms profiting from the labor are now directly financing the safety net.
On to Part 4, impact on platform workers. How do these high-level financial mechanisms actually change lives on the ground? We aren't just talking about abstract policy here. We're talking about high-value, comprehensive life coverage for vulnerable people, critical healthcare under the Ayushman Bharat PMJAI scheme, life and disability cover, accident insurance, old age protection, even just the issuance of an official identity card. This brings a tremendous amount of dignity and very real financial stability to these workers and their loved ones.
And the technological governance making this happen is just fantastic. Before, a driver had a totally siloed identity. It only existed within the specific app they were logged into. Now, they get a portable, Aadhaar-linked, unique identification number on the National eShram portal. That means their social security travels with them. If they decide to switch delivery apps tomorrow, they don't lose their safety net. It's a huge shift in power.
Right out of the gate, this targeted approach aims to bring formal recognition and a comprehensive safety net to nearly 1 crore platform workers immediately. That is 10 million lives fundamentally transformed by a single framework of digital governance and statutory reform. Let's wrap things up with Part 5, final review and takeaways. Let's lock in the absolute must-remember facts from this briefing.
Here's your quick recap.
The immediate target is formalizing the safety net for about 1 crore workers. The mechanism making it happen is the eShram portal with a highly portable Aadhaar-linked UAN. The funding is a statutory mix. Aggregators paying 1 to 2% of turnover capped at 5%, plus government and CSR support. The benefits range from comprehensive health coverage to old age protection. And the ultimate goal? Elevating worker dignity and transitioning a massive informal sector into a fully protected economy.
So as this gig workforce surges toward an estimated 23.5 million by 2030, a really profound question emerges. Will this statutory financing model become the global blueprint for the future of work? As you think about the economic and social impacts we've unpacked in this explainer, ask yourself how this exact framework might redefine global labor rights in the digital age. It's a fascinating shift, isn't it? Thank you so much for joining me today, and keep questioning how the systems around us are built.